everyone, I'm Shaylin with Reedsy, and today we're going to be talking about how to write a memoir. A memoir is a type of creative nonfiction in which the author recounts stories from their own life. It differs from an autobiography because in a memoir, the events are strung into a narrative, kind of like a fiction novel, except it's all real. The book might center around a particular theme or event, whereas in an autobiography, it's simply the story of someone's life. Like fiction, memoirs also fall into different genre categories. 4 common examples would be nostalgia, which are books that detail events of childhood or youth, or a particular time period or place. They're kind of meant to bring the reader back to a point that's nostalgic for them. Another would be misery and inspirational. These books detail a very difficult time of the author's life, but are meant to portray a triumph over adversity. Next up would be celebrity. This is when a public figure with an existing fan base writes a memoir because their fan base has an interest in hearing more about them. And finally would be sports, which are memoirs detailing stories about sports. It's that simple. That one's pretty self-explanatory. When you're going to write a memoir, figure out your genre and then also ask yourself why you want to write this memoir. Doing so will help you determine your goal for the book, which can help you streamline which events you want to portray. Is this a story that you hope will resonate with a wide range of people, or is it more something you want to write for yourself or for your family? The next step will be to write a book proposal. You won't need a book proposal if you're self-publishing, but if you're going the traditional publishing route, you'll need to write one. Book proposal will detail your book's target market and its place within that market, as well as breaking down the content chapter by chapter. Some authors opt to work with a ghostwriter to write the proposal, but then still write the book themselves, because ghostwriters have a very in-depth knowledge of the submission process. They also have very valuable insight on structuring the book, which can be really useful if you've never structured a memoir before. And it's a significantly more affordable route than working with a ghostwriter for your entire project. So when you are ready to write, here are 9 steps to follow. First of all is to interview yourself. Just as if you were writing about someone else, you'll want to get as deep into your own memories of the events as possible. Ask yourself questions in order to remember new details, refine the story you want to tell, and also find the bits of wisdom within individual events. Step 2 is research. Even though in a memoir you're writing about yourself, there's a lot of information you might also want to fact check. Even though you have your memory of the events, you'll want to investigate them as objectively as possible. Anything that can be fact checked should be fact checked, such as dates, world news, weather, places. You can also revisit places you want to write about so you're writing them as accurately as possible, or interview other people who might be mentioned in the memoir, such as friends or family members. Once you have all your events, make a timeline so you know everything is in the right order and to identify any gaps. Although if you do find a gap, you don't want to invent new events just to fill it in. Step 3 is to decide on your theme and message. This might be something you've been aware of or had on your mind the entire way through, but before you start writing, it's pretty important to really solidify this. Choosing a strong theme or message gives that sense of why to your memoir and gives it a real purpose, and it can really help you refine the story and decide what you want to include and what you don't need to include. Step 4 is to identify the moments of highest emotion. When you've gathered all of your information, you're probably going to have more events than you can reasonably fit into the story. But because of this, you're going to need to do some refining and decide what you can cut. Find the moments of high emotion. These are probably going to be the most important and the ones that shaped you the most as a person. When you have all your events decided, it's time to decide on your chronology. A linear structure is naturally going to be the easiest to write, structure, and also to follow as a reader, but like in fiction, sometimes non-linearity can be really helpful for the book's structure and impact. Flashbacks can be really useful tools, and even much more so than in fiction, flash forwards can be really useful. Don't be afraid to play with the chronology to keep the pace moving if you feel like you've hit a bit of a lull in the story. In doing so, we get to our next step, which is to grab the reader's attention from the start. You might even want to break linear chronology right at the beginning, so you're starting with a really exciting event. This way you can start somewhere really engaging and that highlights the central theme of your book if the beginning doesn't really accomplish that. When actually writing, you'll want to make use of detail and dialogue. Describe how you felt about the events that you're describing, and make use of dialogue. Even though it likely won't be 100% accurate to the actual conversation, you just want to make sure you're capturing the essence of what was said. Even if it's not perfectly accurate, direct dialogue is much more interesting to read than indirect dialogue. In a memoir, you also don't want to make yourself the hero. In a memoir, you're talking about real events, and you're telling your side of the story, but portraying yourself as a complete hero or complete villain will remove the honesty from what you're trying to say. Readers can tell if it feels like you aren't portraying yourself accurately because it'll feel like you have an agenda and the book will feel insincere, and that removes the truth of what a memoir can really do. And finally, as with pretty much any type of writing, get an outside opinion. Beta readers are especially helpful because they don't have any frame of reference for the story, so they can help you pinpoint where things are confusing, where you need more information or context, and also events that just aren't relevant to the story. If you want to revisit the information in this video, you can check out the blog post linked in the description, and remember to subscribe for videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time. Bye.